in Seattle. Every weekend he travels Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some place, and he gives a seminar, inspiring so many people. They're telling how he started the youth program with few students. Now it's what is it called that? Exploring so many programs. He's also started at Washington University youth program for Western. So we should be inspired of his schedule. He took a time and gave us the weekend. And he's continuing part one today to Ramayana, part two tomorrow Sunday. Please come, temple. ISKCON temple at 11 o'clock.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare
Rama Rama.
Rama.
Hare Hare. Hare Krishna महामंत्र की
Jai.
एकादशी की very very happy and very honored to be here at ISKCON Columbus. This in fact the first home program I'm doing in Columbus. I've always done a Sunday feast, and Columbus has always been a very short visit. I come to Cincinnati, spend a few days, and Sunday morning I drive to Columbus, Sunday feast, and that same day within 2 hours I take a flight and back to Seattle. So this is the first time I'm spending probably more than 24 hours in Columbus, and this is the first home program. I'm very happy to the host. I don't know where they are. Hare Krishna. Rajesh Prabhu. Hare Anju Mataji. Rajesh Prabhu and Anju Mataji, thank you so much for allowing us to come to your house and serve Hari Katha and Hari Kirtan on this day of Ekadashi. Ekadashi is meant, it is called as Hari Vasar or Madhava Titi. It's the day to chant and hear. Keeping everything to the side, historically it's the day to chant and hear. And today being a Saturday, naturally we can keep everything to the side because no office work, no project deadlines, nothing. So we keep everything to the side with this one desire. For the next 45 minutes to an hour, we will sing and hear and chant the glories of Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramachandra Bhagavan. Siyavar Ramchandra Bhagavan ki. Before we start, let us chant the Mangalacharan prayers, also called as the invocation prayers. Let us seek auspiciousness from our spiritual superiors like Srila Prabhupada, and then get started in our today's discussion. If you have the verses by heart, kindly chant along, and if you do not, we can hear them and hopefully we can by heart them in the near future. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Namami Hari Priye Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद ऑल टुगेदर हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकायै ददालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः आनंद लीलामय विग्रहाय हेमावदिव्य छवि सुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते नित्यानन्दमहं नौमि सर्वानन्दकरं परं हरिनामप्रदं देवम् अवधूत शिरोमणि श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की श्री नित्यानंद राम की श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की as we mentioned, today is the day of Ekadashi. Eka means 1 and Dasha means 10. So 1 plus 10, 11. It is called Ekadashi because it is the day where we use all our 11 senses in chanting and hearing about Krishna. 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring, and 1 mind. We use all 11 senses completely in chanting and hearing about Krishna. Srila Prabhupada narrates a very beautiful story. Probably not documented or not recorded, but I happened to hear this from Badri Narayan Maharaj from San Diego. Srila Prabhupada was there in Los Angeles and narrated this story. Very interesting story. This story is back when Prabhupada was a Grahastha. When Prabhupada was a Grahastha, he had one Muslim friend. And this Muslim friend and Prabhupada were best friends. In Hindi, you say jigri yaar, best friends. So Prabhupada sometimes would go to his house and the Muslim friend would come to Prabhupada's house. And one day Prabhupada invited him for lunch. They decided on a date and Prabhupada invited him for lunch. And the date was decided and this person was again going back, the Muslim friend, he was again going back to his house. And when he was going back, at that time Prabhupada, he thought to himself, oh Krishna, that day is Ekadashi. I invited him for lunch, but that day is Ekadashi, so what can I serve him? Of course, those days were different. During Prabhupada's time, Ekadashi was proper full fast, proper austerity. Of course, now I didn't want to say that, so I was looking for words. Things have changed. Kala Desha Patra, time, place, circumstance. So Prabhupada was thinking, Arey Baba, it is Ekadashi, what will I give him? And no phone call, no WhatsApp, no Snapchat, no Instagram, nothing of these things. Oftentimes I say this, that our goal is not Instagram. Our goal is to worship the Lord of Nandagram. Our goal is to worship the Lord of Nandagram, not Instagram. But anyway, we use technology to spread Mahaprabhu's mission. We are not against any technology. Anything that helps us spread, as Saraswati Thakur has taught us, and Srila Rupa Goswami has taught us, Yukta Vairagya. Whatever can be used, we use it for Krishna service. So Prabhupada thought to himself, Arey, it is Ekadashi. What will I give him? After a few days, this person came back, Muslim friend. Day of Ekadashi. He came to Prabhupada's house, he knocked. Prabhupada opened. And Prabhupada was very dejected. Prabhupada said, I'm very sorry. I know I invited you for lunch, but I'm sorry. Today is Ekadashi and unfortunately I cannot give you anything. And the Muslim friend, he said, thank God, I also follow Ekadashi. Good that you said that I also follow Ekadashi. So Prabhupada said, wait a minute. You are Muslim and you follow Ekadashi. Just like we are having a question mark. Talmel betta nahi hai. What is the connection? So Prabhupada asked him, you are a Muslim, why do you follow Ekadashi? Or how do you follow Ekadashi? What is the inspiration? So he said, huh? No. Prabhuji is saying Ramadan. Of course, that is 30 days. That is too much austerity. Our acharyas are kind, they have given only 1 day fasting. If it was 30 days, we know our condition. One Pandan Rajal Ekadashi, and our stomach is already growling inside. Mind, by the time it's sunset, the mind is thinking, next day, what will I have to break my fast? By the time it is sunset, next day morning, how do I break my fast and with what should I break my fast? And what is the parent time? We have never been so time conscious. The only time Indians are time conscious are Dwadashi. What time can we break our fast? We are known for IST. If the time is 6 o'clock, we come at 6:30. It is a known thing. Indians are known for IST. But the only time when we perfectly follow is Dwadashi. Kitne baje we can have grains. Whether if you are a North Indian, it's going to be aloo paratha. If it's a South Indian, idli dosa. I'm really sorry, it's a wrong day to give this example. Oh, Krishna. Huh? So where are we? Aloo paratha. Huh? Muslim friend, yes. Prabhuji is there. So Muslim friend, he told Prabhupada that Swamiji, not Swamiji, Abhay Babu. Prabhupada was not sannyas back then. Abhay Babu, I also follow Ekadashi. Prabhupada said, how? He said, one time I was walking in the street. It was night time. Please hear this real story. Prabhupada said it in a room conversation in Los Angeles. This Muslim person was walking in the road, and in the bushes, night time, he heard a few people laughing. So he turned around, and it were 3 ghosts. They were laughing. So he looked up to them and said, why are you laughing? So the ghost said, we have a good news. Tomorrow, so and so rich person is going to ride a horse. The horse is going to fall down. The horse is going to die. This person sitting on the horse, his head will hit the rock. His head will crack. He will die. And lo and behold, he is also going to become a ghost like us. So we are happy that we are going to get one more friend in our gang. From 3, the number is going to become 4. So they were happy. So this person said, okay. Few days later, again he was walking same street. And now he hears crying sound. So he looks, and same 3 people are crying. So this Muslim person said, crying like this. These 3 were crying. So this Muslim person looked at them and said, why are you crying? Didn't everything happen according to your plan? They said, no, that's why we're crying. The Muslim person said, didn't the rich man ride the horse? They said, yes. Didn't the horse trip and fall? They said, yes. Didn't the horse die? They said, yes. Didn't the person sitting down on the horse fall? They said, yes. Didn't his head hit the rock and crack? They said, yes. Didn't the person die? They said, yes. Didn't he become a ghost? They said, no. That is why we are crying. He said, why? What happened? These ghosts, they said, the day he died, that day he had a fight with his wife. And as protest, he did not eat anything. And dear devotees, that day happened to be Ekadashi. So on the day of Ekadashi, he fought with his wife and leaves his body. And because even though he was very sinful, he followed one Ekadashi properly, he was protected from going down to the lower species. But the power of Ekadashi Mahima was such that he didn't get a ghost body or a lower planet body. So I oftentimes say this, that sometimes fighting with your spouse can also be bhakti. Sometimes fighting with your spouse can also be a limb of bhakti. You don't know how that's going to help you. Maybe you can kind of pull this down in their face. All of a sudden, they became very effulgent. I remember I was in Atlanta. I hope the room doesn't become so dark that we sleep. That's okay. Nice.
Cozy.
Comfortable? I remember I said light. I was in Atlanta 2019 and it was Panihatti festival. And Panihatti festival in Atlanta is celebrated in a very, very big way because it is called New Panihatti Dham. And every year during Panihatti, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj comes there. And it's a very big festival, like 3-day festival. It's bigger than even Janmashtami. They celebrate it in such a big way. So Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, when he was serving that class, he was speaking about Prakashananda Saraswati, was a Mayavadi. And Maharaj was explaining that when they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they became very, very happy. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very effulgent. And Mayavadi is like light. So in a very sarcastic, in a very funny way, Maharaj, they love Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was very effulgent, and Mayavadis means they like light. So I just remembered when I said. So following Ekadashi is so powerful that even though whatever sins we may have committed, just by following one Ekadashi, doesn't mean we don't follow other Ekadashis, but just by the power of one Ekadashi, we can be protected. So, fighting with our spouse can sometimes be considered limb of bhakti. How many limbs of bhakti we have? 9 limbs. This is the 10th limb. Fighting with your wife. So, on this day of Ekadashi, we are here to chant and speak about Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramachandra. We celebrated Ram Navami few days back. I was at one place and I asked this question. I am asking this question again here. I asked this question that Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the most merciful? Please put your hand up and in one line you can give me any reason. Yes. Okay. What is your name? Daivik. Daivik Ram. Achha, that's why you said Ram. It was a strategic answer. Yes, anyone else? Ram, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is most merciful according to you? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? He has the feeling of mood of Radharani. Correct. Anyone for Krishna? अरे कोई तो बोलो राधा नट्टपर है. Someone support him. No one for Krishna? Krishna. So I was at this one place and I asked that who is most merciful, and I got different answers. And one devotee put his hand up and said, Prabhuji, Sri Ram. With full confidence he said. So I always thought Namo Mahavadanyaya, Mahaprabhu is most merciful. His explanation was out of this world. He said, Prabhuji, when does Krishna appear? I said 12 o'clock at night, which means fasting till night 12 o'clock. When does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear? 6:45, which means fasting till 6:45. When does Ramachandra appear? Noon. Who's most merciful? Sri Ramchandra Bhagwan ki jai. My goodness, some devotees have their own understanding and they have logical answers to back it up also. If Rupa Goswami would have heard such answers, I think to protect himself, he went before that. But of course, in reality, it is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is the most merciful. Because devotees have their way of perceiving things. Sri Ram, no doubt, is very, very glorious. We find that when Bhishma Dev, the first canto of the Bhagavatam, we find when Bhishma Dev was departing this world, he was on a bed of arrows. बाणों की शैया में सोए थे भीष्मदेव. And when he was there in the bed of arrows, at that time Bhishmadev, he says something very interesting. He gives the reason why Pandavas were always protected. He says there were three reasons why Pandavas were always protected. Even the obstacles were always there in their life. There were three reasons why the Pandavas were always protected. He said, first, they always respected the Supreme Lord. Second, they always respected the devotees of the Lord. And third, they never followed adharma. They always followed the path of dharma. And Shastra always explains those who follow the path of dharma, dharma protects them. Dharma rakshata rakshita. Those who follow the path of dharma, dharma will protect them. So three reasons. What are the three reasons? First, they respected the Supreme Lord. Second, they respected the devotees. And third, they followed the path of dharma. And just like the Pandavas always followed the path of dharma and always had the backing, always had the protection of Sri Krishna, if the devotees of the Lord always follow dharma, what to speak of the Supreme Lord? Where do the devotees get the quality from? They're getting it from the Supreme Lord. So if Pandavas are always following, what to speak of the Supreme Lord? Valmiki Ramayana explains that Sri Ram is the epitome of following dharma. There was never a point that he broke dharma. Ekapatni Vrata, his father asked him to go 14 years exile. He followed, he never argued. Sri Ram never said, why do bad things happen to good people? He never argued. He never argued. He is Bhagavan. Imagine the next day you're going to become king. Or I put it this way. We are in Kali Yuga, we are in the IT world. Imagine tomorrow you're going to become the CEO of Apple. Imagine tomorrow you're going to become the CEO of Apple and tonight you're laid off. Isn't it painful? You had so much hopes, so much aspiration. You're going to become the CEO. And overnight, everything topples. Sri Ram's life was not different. He's going to become the king. Everything was picture perfect. And all of a sudden, conspiracy and some spice, some mirch masala. And all of a sudden, now he has to go for 14 years exile. But never did he crib. Never did he complain. Not even a single word in the whole of Ramayana we find Sri Ram is chastising or arguing with his father. Why do bad things happen to good people? Never. Always followed dharma. But primarily in the Ramayana we find there is one thing that is very explicit, and that is sambandha or relationship. How relationships can be perfectly met. And this is often a scenario that develops in our life because we wear so many hats. There's one hat that we wear at home. There's one that we are there in the temple. And if you ask the children will say, the father whom I see in the Sunday feast is very different from the father whom I see at home. Two different personalities. Oftentimes happen. Ghar ghar ki kahani. And that same father is very different in a corporate environment. Same person, but different features he has. And it's very difficult oftentimes to wear these different hats, to maintain these relationships, to maintain this sambandha. But Valmiki Ramayana very beautifully explains how one personality, Sri Ram, wore multiple hats and juggled multiple balls and made sure that every relationship that he had around was perfectly met. Valmiki Ramayana explains that hearing the pastimes of Sri Ram, there are three benefits of hearing the pastimes of Sri Ram. The first benefit of hearing the pastimes of Sri Ram is the mountain of sins that are there in the heart get completely destroyed. Do we agree we have sins? Anyone who can put their hand up and say, Prabhuji, kuch bhi nahi, pure devotee. Anyone? We all have something, some sin. Do we agree we have sinning tendency? We may know it's wrong, but somehow the situation is such, हो जाता है प्रभु जी हो गया. I know it is wrong, but हो गया मेरे से. So sin is there, sinning tendency is there, and third, we all also have envy in the heart. in a Sunday feast. Uh, We are all there in a Sunday feast. And Naveen Krishna Prabhu is announcing that this Mataji made cake, this Mataji made chapati, this Mataji made sabji. I don't know why I'm giving prasadam examples today, especially on a day of Ekadashi. Just imagine, Prabhuji is giving, he's saying, this Mataji did this Mataji did that Mataji did this, and your name is not taken. While in reality, you also contributed. Immediately you start thinking, hey, I also did. I also did. And you want to, if he is having the mic, you want to pull his dhoti and say, I also did. Announce my name. Prabhuji, I also made something. That Mataji's name is announced. My name is not announced. I joined movement before that Mataji. She made cake. I taught her to make cake. And her name is announced. My name is not announced. Happens with everyone. This is just one example. I think already in our mind, examples are coming. Aham sarvasva prabhu, examples are just manifesting. We would have seen this. So why am I saying this? Valmiki Ramayana explains, by hearing the pastimes of Sri Ram, these three things that every single individual in Kali Yuga has gets destroyed. What are the three things? Sin, sinning tendency, and envy in the heart. Because naturally, in Kali, you ask anyone to do anything, the first immediate question is, मुझे क्या मिलेगा? हाँ, कर तो लेंगे, मुझे क्या मिलेगा? What will I get? That's the first question. So Valmiki Muni understands this mindset. Shukadev Goswami understands this mindset. So time and again they give benefits of why we should hear the scripture and what we will gain. Envy in Sanskrit is compared to a fish. Matsaryata. Matsya basically means fish. You see, the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord we call Matsya Avatar. Fish means Matsya. So envy is compared to a fish. Why? Because it is normally seen that when a small fish, you call it a tadpole? Small fish? That's a frog. What do you call a small fish? Small fish? Oh, no name? Okay. So small fish. We will do the naming ceremony later. Probably the small fish does not have IDC yet, so cannot get a new name. Huh? No social security number. No 401k. So generally it is seen that when a small fish is put in a water body, the big fish that is there, it starts thinking to itself, one day this small fish will become big fish. And this big fish will become so powerful that at that time I will be old. So then this big fish will now eat me. So that day doesn't arise in the future, I will now Mahaprasade. I will now eat it. The envy in the heart, the future, he will become big in this water body and he will become the king and I will be not considered. Better I finish it off. This tendency is seen in the fish, and that is why envy is compared to the fish, Matsaryata. So this tendency of envy or sin or sinning tendency can be removed by hearing the pastimes of Sri Ram. So does it make sense? Is it worthwhile to hear or no?
Yes.
Prasadam? Mahaprasade? Ready? Shri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki? Much louder. Shri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki? Shri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki? Those who were sleepy, that was a nice wake-up call. So, Shri Ram, in the Valmiki Ramayana, there are multiple sections. We have Balkand, Sundarkand, Ayodhya Kand, Kishkinda Kand, etc. Huh? Yuddha Kand, yes. So multiple sections are there. Just like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, Anti Lila. Bhagavatam, we have Canto 1, Canto 3, etc. Chaitanya Bhagavat, we have Adi Kanda, Madhya Kanda, Antya, Shesh Bhag, Shesh Kanda. Likewise, Valmiki Ramayana also gives the same. In the Kishkinda Kand, there is a very beautiful narration that comes. So please hear, this is simply storyline. When Sri Ram and Lakshman defeated a demon by the name Karbanda, when they defeated this demon gave an advice. He told Sri Ram and Lakshman, look, I don't know where Maya Sita is. I can give you one advice. Go and find Sugriv. Now Sri Ram has no idea who Sugriv is. But this demon Karbanda, he says that I have just one advice for you. I don't know where Maya Sita is, but you go and find Sugriv. Maybe Sugriv will help you in your attempt, in your search to find Maya Sita. So Sri Ram and Lakshman say, okay. Sri Ram and Lakshman, now they start walking. Now they have no idea where Sugriv is. They have not even heard the name. So they start walking. And eventually they reach Rishyamukha mountains. What is the name? Rishyamukha mountains. Now this place is still there. It's in Hampi. We have Srila Radhanath Maharaj many years back. He took a very famous yatra. Those classes are still there online. So these places are still there. It's not, oftentimes we say ki it is fiction. This is fiction. Right? The Sakshat Praman, the Sakshat proof is these places are still there. So we can verify that way. So Sri Ram and Lakshman, they come to Rishyamukha mountains. And now when they come to Rishyamukha mountain, Sugriv sees Ram and Lakshman from a distance. Now please hear this. Sugriv sees Ram and Lakshman from a distance. And now he is very terrified. He is afraid to go in front of them because he feels Ram and Lakshman are sent by Vali. Now Sugriv and Vali have 36 ka akda. They say in Hindi, 36 ka akda. They have friction. Why they have friction, we will come to that later. So Sugriv feels, maybe my brother Vali has sent these two personalities. Sugriv has no idea that they're Sri Ram and Lakshman. So he looks towards Hanuman and tells Hanuman, you go and you speak to them. You see who they are. You do the interrogation. Oftentimes you see when you land in America, and if it's the first time, you have immigration. And they ask you so many questions. What is the purpose of visit? Why you have come? What is the address? Do you have family members? When are you going back? Return ticket. They have like a list of questions. So here, Sugriv, he looked at Hanuman and said, go and speak to them. Go and see whether they're actually my well-wishers or they're sent by Vali. So Hanuman says, okay. These two brothers come to the Rishyamukha mountains. And at that time, Hanumanji, he comes. And Hanuman introduces himself. Hanuman says that, I am Pavan Putra Hanuman, Anjani Sutta. I am Pavan Putra, my name is Hanuman and I work for Sugriv. And when Sri Ram and Lakshman hear the name Sugriv, they have a big smile, ear to ear. Sri Ram looks at Lakshman and says, Lakshman, we have been looking for Sugriv all this while, and look what a miracle. Sugriv's messenger is coming and welcoming us. We have been looking for Sugriv all this while, but his messenger is personally coming and welcoming us. What a miracle. During Prabhupada's time also, Prabhupada disciples explain, when the San Francisco temple at Ashbury was coming up, early days. So 26 2nd Avenue was there and the next center was San Francisco. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Mother Malati, they were there at that time. And one day, Shyam Sundar Prabhu in his memories, he says that those were the days when the temple did not have much funds because Shyam Sundar Prabhu by profession was a carpenter. Jayananda Prabhu was a mechanical engineer from Ohio State University but was driving a taxi. So not many were working. So funds was always a challenge. And at that time, the place that they were living in, the temple, they had not paid the rent for 2 months. And the landlord had already given an ultimatum, if you don't pay the rent this month, you have to leave. Now they have no idea where the money is going to come from. And they were all in their teens. So even if they go out and work, they have to make money for 2 months and then this extra addition 1 month. So they have no idea where the money is going to come from. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu explains one day when they were walking in the street of Ashbury, morning time, Mother Malati and Shyam center was San Francisco. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Mother Malati, they were there at that time. And one day, Shyam Sundar Prabhu in his memories, he says that those were the days when the temple did not have much funds because Shyam Sundar Prabhu by profession was a carpenter. Jayananda Prabhu was a mechanical engineer from Ohio State University, but was driving a taxi. So not many were working. So funds was always a challenge. And at that time, the place that they were living in, the temple, they had not paid the rent for 2 months. And the landlord had already given an ultimatum: if you don't pay the rent this month, you have to leave. Now they have no idea where the money is going to come from. And they were all in their teens. So even if they go out and work, they have to make money for 2 months and then this extra addition 1 month. So they have no idea where the money is going to come from. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu explains one day when they were walking in the street of Ashbury, morning time, Mother Malati and Shyam Sundar Prabhu are going for Mangal Arti. Out of nowhere, $100 bills are flying. Real story. $100 bills are flying and they have no idea whom it belongs to. You have to be completely insane to kind of throw your $100 bills. They had no idea where it is coming from. Bills were just flowing. And they looked around and they didn't find anyone. So now what do? देने वाला जब भी देता छप्पड़ फाड़ के. They got 100, so much so that it was right enough to pay the rent for 2 months and that extra addition 1 month. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu, in the memories, he was saying, in the initial days, it was very difficult for us to understand how this is happening. But later, as the days progressed, it just became a routine. With Srila Prabhupada, miracles were a normal thing. It was a normal thing. When prayers become a routine, miracles become a lifestyle. It is experiential. Let us pause and think about the statement. When prayers become a routine, miracles become a lifestyle. Those devotees who have been in this movement for long enough have personal experiences where things would always be against you. But somehow or the other, out of nowhere, Krishna opens that one door because of which everything falls into perspective. We all would have experienced that. Whatever age we are in, somehow we see things just fall into perspective. So when prayers become a routine, miracles become a lifestyle. And very, very important, if we are not praying every day, to at least take out few minutes and pray to the Supreme Lord. So Sri Ram looked at Lakshman and said, my dear Lakshman, what a miracle. We were looking for Sugriv and Sugriv's messenger is personally coming in front of us. They took Ram and Lakshman. Hanuman took Ram and Lakshman to Sugriv. And Sugriv was still afraid. He still felt, he still felt that probably Ram and Lakshman are sent by Vali and Hanuman has not done proper interrogation. So he was still terrified to come out. And finally he mustered some courage and he came out. And he looked at Sri Ram and Lakshman, who were so effulgent. And Sugriv looked at Ram and said, what is your story? What brings you here? I have never seen you. Who are you and what is your story? And Sri Ram narrates his heart. He narrates his story as to how he had gone behind the illusionary deer, the golden deer, and Maya Sita got kidnapped by Ravana. His kingdom was taken away and his wife was also kidnapped. And when Sugriv heard this, he said, my story is also similar. My kingdom was also taken away. My wife was also stolen. Same pinch. For both, same story. And it cannot be coincidence. Both of us are meeting for the first time. Same story. Kingdom is taken away. Wife is taken away. So Sugriv looks at Sri Ram and says, "You go first. You tell me your story in detail." So Sri Ram starts speaking. And as he starts glorifying Maya Sita and how she was kidnapped and the route in which Ravana kidnapped, Sugriv said, "Wait a minute. I think I may be wrong. I think when Maya Sita was being kidnapped by Ravan, I think she dropped something to the ground and my Banar Sena, they took charge of it. I may be wrong, but I just want to present it in front of you. You see and you let me know whether that belongs to Maya Sita or not." Sri Ram said, "Okay." So the Vanars, they went inside and they brought, and it was wrapped with a cloth of Maya Sita, and Maya Sita had put her jewels in that. As she was being kidnapped, she put some jewels of her and she dropped it to the ground. And the monkeys of Sugriv, they took charge of that. So now they're presenting that to Sri Ram. When Sri Ram saw this, Sri Ram had tears in his eyes. He fell down to the ground. All this while, dear devotees, things were perfect. It was pretty much their last year of Vanavas. Everything was going good. Now he was about to come back. Now he was to take charge. But at the last moment, there is a reversal. Character is when we can take reversals positively in our life. Look at the life of Sri Ram. There was always reversals. In Bhagavatam, we find Chitraketu Maharaj going back home, back to God, and gets cursed now to become a demon. Maharaj Indrajumna, and then next life Gajendra. But all of them took reversals positively. Character is when the odds are against us, but we can still take reversals positively in our life and reflect from that and learn as to how we can improve. So Sri Ram looked at these jewels and started crying, had tears in his eyes, and he fell down. And he looked at Lakshman and said, "Lakshman, can you recognize them?" And Lakshman said, "No, Bhaiya, I cannot." Sri Ram said, "Why? You were also there all this while. All this while you were guarding us. So why can't you recognize?" And Lakshman looks at Sri Ram and says, "My dear Lord, she is your wife. And out of etiquette, I never looked at her over the feet. I always looked at just her lotus feet. For the 14 years that we were there, my dear brother, I was just looking at the lotus feet." So Lakshman could not recognize any of the jewels except the ankle bells. He looked at the ankle bells and he said, "My dear brother, this belongs to your wife. This belongs to Maya Sita." And when Sri Ram heard this, this was a thunderbolt to his heart, because all this while he had a hope that maybe Lakshman will say, "No, this doesn't belong to Sita." And Sri Ram can feel, maybe my Sita is perfect. But now when Lakshman says this is a thunderbolt, and Sri Ram falls down to the ground, falls at the feet of Sugriv and says, "Sugriv, what happened? Why didn't you protect? You knew my wife is being kidnapped. Why didn't you protect? You have such a big Vanasena. What stopped you?" And Sugriv has no frame of reference because he has never seen Sri Ram. He doesn't know who Sita is. Sri Ram explains his story and he looks at Sugriv. He says, "My dear Sugriv, what is your story? How did you land here, and why do you have a friction with your brother? You mentioned Bali is your brother, but why do you have a friction? Brothers are meant to be together. Brothers are meant to be bonded together." Is the light coming on the face there? That's okay. He said, brothers are meant to be bonded. They're meant to be together. You both are brothers and both of you all are enemies. Sri Ram said, "My dear Sugriv, please explain to me what is this history? Why do you have a rift?" Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Ram tells Sugriv that, "My dear Sugriv, you please tell me your story. What is your story? How did you land here, and what is your enmity with your brother?" So Sugriv, he says that, my dear Sri Ram, everything was going perfect. But one time, this one demon, he came to attack. And in the middle of the night, he came to attack Vali. And Vali was ruling. He came to attack middle of the night. So Vali left the kingdom to fight him. And when Vali left, Sugriv thought to himself that, oh, my older brother is going, I should also give some protection. Out of care and compassion, he thought, my older brother is going, I should also go. So he followed Vali. And now Vali and Sugriv were chasing this demon. Now this demon had no idea where to go. So he eventually, after running here and there, hither and thither, finally entered into one of the caves. And when they entered one of the caves, Vali looked at Sugriv and said, you stand out and you guard this cave. If by chance he escapes, kill him. But I will go inside and fight. Sugriv said, okay. Vali went inside. And Sugriv was waiting out. For 1 year, there was no noise inside. So Sugriv had no idea what's happening. But following his brother, he didn't go inside. He was just waiting out. Valmiki Ramayana explains, after 1 year, Sugriv hears the sound of the demon. And now Sugriv feels to himself, maybe my brother was killed by this demon. Maybe my brother Vali is no more alive. That brother whom I loved and cherished so much, I was waiting out, but probably seems like he was killed inside. Sugriv was so much in tears, thinking that his brother is dead. He picked up a rock. He picked up a boulder. And he closed the cave so that this demon doesn't escape. He killed my brother. He should not escape. So he closed it. And now Sugriv went back and he told the kingdom, sad news. Vali is no more there. And now no one doubted. No one doubted Sugriv because he's the brother. And now eventually what happens is Vali had killed this demon. And now as he wanted to come out, he saw there was a rock. So finally he somehow kicks the rock and he comes out. And when he sees, here is Sugriv ruling. Now Vali thinks to himself, we are all there in the story? Who is thinking about whom? Who thought who is dead? Who was standing out? Who went inside? ठीक है कभी कभी करना पड़ता है. By the way, this Vali is different from the Bali. Bali Maharaj and Vali are different. Pretty much same name. One is a B, one is a V. But you see in Vrindavan, V becomes B. Vrindavan, Vrindavan. Braja, Braja. So Vali, Bali, but different personalities. Bengali pronunciation. Like Yamuna becomes Jamuna. Ya becomes Ja. Prabhupada would say Jamuna. So Vali comes from inside and he comes back to the kingdom, which is the kingdom Kishkinda. He comes back to Kishkinda and he says, here is Sugriv ruling the kingdom. And now Vali is furious. He looks at Sugriv and thinks, you on purpose put a rock so that I can be stranded inside, so that you can become the king and enjoy my wife. Because Vali was also married. Vali's wife's name was Tara. So back in the day, monkeys also had wives. Vali's wife, Tara. So Vali looks at Sugriv and says, you wanted to enjoy all these things and on purpose you made me stranded inside. Sugriv has no frame of reference. He says, no, I really thought you were dead. And Sugriv picks up his mukut, crown, and he places it at the feet of Vali. Vali is so furious that he kicks him out of Kishkinda. Never should I see you back again in Kishkinda. If I see you here in Kishkinda, Gaura Premanande, you will be dead. So I give you a warning. You should never be seen in Kishkinda. And Vali was very, very powerful. So Sugriv said, okay. And now Sugriv was living in Rishyamukha mountain. So Sri Ram said, wait a minute. If Vali has the power to kick you out from Kishkinda, can he not come to Rishyamukha mountain and kick you out from here? Because both are not very far. So if you can be kicked out from one place, he has that much power. Vali has that power to even come to Rishimukha mountain and kick you. How is it that you are safe here? What is the story? In fact, Sri Ram, he knows everything. He wants to hear it from his devotee. He is Bhagavan. What does he not know? Bhoktaram sarva, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. Everything belongs to him. Bhutani cha bhavishyani mam tu vedana kaschana. Past, present, future. He knows everything of all living entities for time immemorial. What is that thing that Sri Ram doesn't know? But he wants to hear from his devotee. He is performing human-like pastime. Srila Prabhupada was like this. So many examples where Prabhupada literally knew, or he could face read. Like an X-ray machine, he could know what his disciple is thinking. I am in Seattle, and in Seattle the community is led by a Prabhupada disciple by the name Harivilas Maharaj. So when he was Harivilas Prabhu, in his memories he says, one time he came to Prabhupada. It was his day of Brahman Diksha. So he came to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada called him ahead. So he came ahead. Prabhupada said, come little more ahead. So came little more ahead. Prabhupada said, come little more ahead. Because it was Brahman Diksha, so Prabhupada wanted to chant the mantras in the ear. So he came ahead. Prabhupada chanted the mantras. And then Prabhupada said, so, you're going to Calais. So Calais is a port in the French coast. France, that side. So you're going to Calais. And Harivilas Prabhu, when he heard, he said, no, Prabhupada. Because he was going from Dover to Boulogne through a hovercraft. And Calais doesn't come in between. So he said, no, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, are you sure? He said, yes, Prabhupada. Calais doesn't come in between. Prabhupada again asked, are you sure? And this time Harivilas Prabhu, he said, Prabhupada, you're wrong. Calais doesn't come. And then immediately he felt, what did I do? I told my spiritual master, you're wrong. Immediately that guilt was there in the heart. Nahi bolna chahiye tha. Galti ho gaya. So Prabhupada just smiled and said, Prabhupada said, okay. He went. And when he reached the place where the hovercraft was there, they made an announcement. Due to bad weather, the hovercraft that was going from Dover to Boulogne is no longer going to Boulogne, but is going to Calais. And when Harivilas Prabhu heard this in his mind and his heart, and almost out from his mouth, he was thinking, Jai Srila Prabhupada! Srila Prabhupada ki! He thought to himself, Prabhupada knew it. Prabhupada knew I'm going to Calais. He asked me thrice, and I said, Prabhupada, you're wrong. Prabhupada knew it. Where is this quality coming from? Sakshad Hritvena Samasta Shastra. In our lives also we would have seen our spiritual master many times. He may say things which probably no one is aware. Only we or as a family we may know, but no one is aware. And that just instills more faith that this personality can actually read through. Like an X-ray machine, he can read through. So Sri Ram knows everything, but on purpose, he is asking Sugriv. So Sugriv now takes Ram to another story. What was the question? Who kicking whom? Bali kicking Sugriv. Who is asking the question? And what is Lakshman doing? Sitting. Out of syllabus question. So Sri Ram asked this question, and now Sugriv takes Sri Ram into another story. So it's like those who are into coding, it's like a nested loop. One loop into another. So it's a story into another story. So he says that, my dear Lord, there was one demon by the name Dundubi. Dundubi. Please don't ask me what the meaning is. Please don't ask me who the parents were who named him as Dundubi. I have no idea. You just take the essence. Naam tha Dundubi. वो कैसे पढ़ा, किसने नाम रखा, कब नामकरण हुआ, I have no idea. So this Dundubi, he had this urge to fight. So he went to the ocean god, Varun Devata, and he said, I want to fight. Varun Devata said, look, I am not in a mood to fight. You go and fight someone else. He said, give me a name. Kinke sa jhagda karo. He said, you go and fight with the Himalayan mountains. So he said, okay. Now this Dundavi went to Himalayan mountains. And with his horn, he started hitting the Himalayan mountains. So the mountain personification, he came and said, Arey Baba, what wrong did I do? In my cave, some sadhus are doing bhajan. They are not disturbing you. I am not disturbing you. Ah, bail mujhe maar. I am not disturbing you. Why you are coming unnecessarily? He said, I want to fight. He said, you fight someone else. He said, give me a name. Fight whom? But of course, in those days there was no WWE or WWF, but the urge was there to fight. So Himalayan mountain, he said, you go and fight with Wali. Wali is very powerful. You go and fight with him. He said, okay. He came to Wali and started challenging Wali. And now Wali was very powerful. When Wali heard, he came out and in one go he picked up this demon Dundavi by the horn and pura ghumaya, whirlpool, and he just threw him. And this demon fell very far away. Wali was very, very powerful. Sugriv was not even 1/4. Wali was very powerful. So he threw this demon. Now you may have this question, what is the connection? When this demon was thrown, a few drops of blood fell to the ashram of Martanga Rishi. Martanga Rishi was doing bhajan in the foothill of Rishimukha mountain. So when few drops of blood fell, he became so angry. When he got to know Wali has done this, he cursed Wali. That never ever should I see you in my ashram. Never ever should I see you even in the radius, few kilometers around. If I see you, I'll kill you. Now sadhus were very powerful. They had mystic potency. Karma comes back. Karma is like a boomerang. It comes back. Wali had threatened Sugriv that if you come here, I will kill you. And likewise now Martanga Rishi, he threatens Wali, if you come here, I will kill you. So karma comes back. Whatever we do, we may forget. But it comes back. Krishna never forgets. We have to drill this point in our head. We may forget, Krishna never forgets. What is the example? Dasharath Maharaj was blind. No, Dhritarashtra Maharaj. Dhritarashtra Maharaj was blind. 100 lifetimes in the past, he had a very peculiar habit. When ants would crawl, he would take a blade of grass and he would poke their eyes. And he would get pleasure in that. Maja. To see them suffer, he would get pleasure. And he did that to so many ants. And that fructified after 100 lifetimes and he became blind. So karma never, it's not necessary that it's going to act in the same lifetime. It's possible that something that we do now, after 40, 50, 100 lifetimes, it's going to fructify. So Krishna never forgets. Sri Ram never forgets. So this thing again came back. Wali now had no entrance to the Rishimukha mountains and now Sugriva was perfectly fine. Now the Supreme Lord was hearing all this. He was hearing this from Sugriv. Now he understood the story of Sugriv. He understood the story of Sugriv. And he told Sugriv that, my dear Sugriv, let's do one thing. You heard my story. My wife got kidnapped, Sita. I heard your story. Your wife also got kidnapped. You also lost kingdom. Let's strike a deal. I will help you fight your brother. And I will make sure that the kingdom is restored and you get your wife back. In return, you make sure that you help me get Maya Sita back. Deal? It's a deal. Let's do it. So Sri Ram and Lakshman, they struck this deal with Sugriv. Srila Prabhupada, we're talking about striking deals or negotiation. Srila Prabhupada was really expert in that. Very, very expert. Because he had a pharmacy, business. So negotiation was something that was there in his blood. Srila Prabhupada, when he was there in the Bauri, not a very good place to stay. So he was looking for another place. He told Mukunda Maharaj, Mukunda Goswami, Mr. Michael, as Prabhupada would call him. He told them that you find another place for me because this place is not meant for gentlemen. You find another place. So, in the newspaper article, one day, an article came about 26 Second Avenue. It was called as the Matchless Gifts. Now, Matchless Gifts is not a name that Prabhupada coined. It was already the name. Prabhupada liked that name so much that he didn't change it. Because indeed what Prabhupada is giving is matchless gift. जिसकी कोई तुलना ही ना हो, it is atulya. Atul. So Prabhupada didn't change the name. So this owner of the storefront was, please hear this. This owner of the storefront was a person by the name Mr. Grant. So the day was decided, and this owner came, Mukunda Maharaj came, and Srila Prabhupada also came. And before Srila Prabhupada came, Mukunda Maharaj glorified Prabhupada that he's a spiritual leader, he has written books, he's a big time author, he has written letters and even given books to the Prime Minister, he has photos with Prime Minister. He literally glorified Prabhupada. So this person, this owner was very inspired. If this person is going to stay, it's definitely for a good cause. Prabhupada came. Prabhupada looked at this whole place. And Prabhupada said, wonderful place. We should have this. So this owner became very happy. And Prabhupada asked, what's the cost? And he said, it costs $100 per month, $100. And in the conversation, he told Srila Prabhupada that opposite, there is one more apartment, which is also empty. So if you want, you can take both. You can stay in that apartment and you can do your programs here. Now the owner had no idea that Prabhupada is going to give Bhagavad Gita classes. He was told that they are going to do yoga, hatha yoga, ha, hu, he, hu. So Prabhupada said, $180, yes, we can do it. And then Prabhupada had Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. So he gave it to this owner. And Prabhupada signed it. Prabhupada did not even ask whether the owner wanted or not. Prabhupada naturally gave. So this owner who was there, he gave the book back. Prabhupada said, no, keep it, keep it. Now imagine, he has no frame of reference what Bhagavatam is. He has no idea who Krishna is. And then on top of that, first canto Bhagavatam, creation and all the technical aspects. Even for seasoned devotees, sometimes it's a bouncer. So Prabhupada gave. He said, no. Prabhupada again pushed it into his hand. He said, you keep it. So he started flipping pages. And then Prabhupada said, you see, Mr. Michael, he is a trustee of our movement. Movement is not even established till now. Not even registered. But Prabhupada's vision is so far-sighted, he was confident. When Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada said, it's only time that is separating. I can see the reality. It's only time that is separating. So Prabhupada gave this book, and Prabhupada said, this Mr. Michael is a trustee in our movement. Why don't you also become trustee? He is telling the owner of the storefront. So the owner looked. First of all, he has no idea what ISKCON is. He has no idea who Krishna is. No idea of Bhagavatam. And now Prabhupada is saying you become trustee. Become trustee of a movement of which you have no clue. So he says, I think one trustee is good enough. So Prabhupada said, no, you can also become trustee. So he says, okay. Prabhupada had this amazing skill of convincing. So he said, okay. Now first time he's meeting Prabhupada, and Prabhupada has made him trustee of ISKCON. We find it difficult to make one devotee. Prabhupada has made this person trustee of the movement. Yadi Prabhupada na hoi to, trustee na hoi to. Prabhupada made him the trustee. And now look at Prabhupada's master stroke. Prabhupada says, in our movement, trustees pay a $20 subscription fee. Mr. Michael, do you pay? Mr. Michael says, yes. Yes, Prabhupada, I pay. Now Prabhupada looks at the owner. The owner has no idea. He said, Swamiji, I will also pay. He gets Bhagavatam, signed Bhagavatam, made the trustee, and now Prabhupada has convinced him to give $20 subscription fee. And now Prabhupada says, well, if anyway you are giving $20 subscription fee, deduct it from the $180 rent. Bring it down. So he said, okay. And Prabhupada convinced him and he got the rent down. And the next day he told Mukunda Maharaj, you go to the PSC. Of course, those days I think it was called something else. I couldn't catch it when Mukunda Maharaj was saying, but the essence was PSC or PSEG, whatever you call. What do you call here? The electricity bill? OEP. Okay. So I think in the West Coast you call it PSC, power supply and electric something. So Prabhupada asked him to go to that department. And Prabhupada said, go and tell them to waive off our deposit. Go and tell them it's a charitable organization. Our deposit should be waived off. So Mukunda Maharaj, he says, okay. And he goes to this department and he tells them, it is a charitable organization. Can you please waive off our deposit? When you enter a house, you normally give deposit. So he tells this person, and he says, can you waive off? He says, it doesn't work this way. Like, you may be a charitable organization, but this is America and it may work probably in your India. It doesn't work here. So Mukunda Maharaj says, okay. And he comes back and tells Prabhupada, didn't work out. Kaam nahi bana. Prabhupada looks at him and says, probably you wouldn't negotiate well. You should learn it. Gurudev will teach you. So Prabhupada next day decided to go. And dear devotees, Prabhupada went there, convinced him, waived off the deposit for 26 Second Avenue electricity bill, and also gave a Bhagavatam signed copy to him. Amazing preaching. Amazing preaching. We know how difficult it is to preach to one person. And here, owner of the storefront is now a trustee. He is giving subscription. And now the person who is there in this department, electricity department, he is getting signed copy of Bhagavatam. And now Srila Prabhupada has convinced him to waive off the deposit also. That is how in the initial days, Prabhupada got the rent down for 26 Second Avenue and the electricity was completely free. So devotee, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Krishna Bhakta Ai Bada Chatur. Devotees of the Lord are very intelligent. If anything can be used properly for Krishna service and if negotiation can work, we don't want to misuse. If by negotiation, if something can be got down, we use that. So why are we saying this? We were mentioning about how the Supreme Lord Sri Ram negotiated or struck a deal with Sugriv that you help me, I will also help you. And likewise, Prabhupada, he struck a deal, he negotiated and got his things done. And so many Prabhupada pastimes are so sweet, so sweet. So many pastimes like that. And Prabhupada had a very, very interesting humor. One time when Prabhupada landed in London, Prabhupada's London pastimes are very interesting. Prabhupada landed in London, and naturally, the reporters, they started mobbing. The mics were there because they had never seen someone shaven head, shikha, stick, sannyas danda, or a saffron. This was like a culture shock for them. So the reporters, they came to Prabhupada and they asked various questions. And one of the questions they asked was, Swamiji, how do you define hell? Now you don't have that much time to speak 5th canto Bhagavatam. You have only 30 seconds. They asked, Swamiji, how do you define hell? And you know what Prabhupada said? Very coolly, very calmly. Prabhupada said, hell? Oh, it is cold, dark and gloomy, just like your London. It is cold, dark and gloomy, just like your London. Of course, Prabhupada could say this. He had some instantaneous humor. So here, Sri Ram struck this deal with Sugriv. And Sri Ram told Sugriv that, my dear Sugriv, you please go and challenge Vali. Now this is the last few minutes. Go and challenge Vali for a fight. Sugriv said, my dear Lord, you know how powerful Vali is. I told you how he killed demons. You want me to go and challenge? Sri Ram said, yes, you go and challenge him. I will stand behind the tree and I will support him. So he says, okay. Sugriv goes and challenges Vali. Hey Vali, come out! I am here for a fight. Vali hears this from inside. Vali looks at his wife and says, is this guy drunk? He's challenging me? He knows what I've done in the past and how powerful I am, and he has the audacity to come outside my kingdom, Kishkinda, and he's challenging me for a fight. Sab theek hai? It seems like this guy is not in his senses. Vali comes out, and Sugriv is waiting for a fight. Vali comes and starts bashing Sugriv left and right, black and blue. His complexion became like Sham Sundar. From a monkey, his complexion became like Sham Sundar, bluish black. And Sri Ram is standing behind the tree and is clapping. Vali is punching Sugriv and Sri Ram is clapping. He has kept the bow and arrow to the ground and is clapping. Sugriv came back and he looked at the Lord and said, "My dear Lord, what is this?" So Sri Ram looked and said, "You are Sugriv?" He said, "What do you mean you are Sugriv? I pura Ramayana Mahabharat suna diya and you're not able to recognize me?" Sri Ram said, "Oh, both brothers look same." I got confused. I thought Sugriv is hitting Vali, so I kept my bow and arrow down to the ground and I was clapping. When Sugriv heard, he said, "My dear Lord, you are clapping here, he was clapping on my face." He was punching me blue and black. "My dear Lord, what is this? I told you so much and now you are not even protecting me." Sri Ram said, "Galti ho gaya, mistake. Let's do one thing. For identification, let's do one thing." He called Lakshman. And Lakshman offered a garland to Sugriv. He offered a garland to Sugriv. And now it was very clear for Sri Ram. The one with the garland is Sugriv. And one without the garland is Vali. He offered the garland and now Sugriv again went. And he again chanted, "Hey Vali, come out!" Now Vali thought, what has happened to him? I just punched him. His eyes have become like Jagannath. And still he doesn't understand. He's challenging me. What has happened to him? What has happened? Vali's wife, Tara, she wants, "I have heard Sri Ram is in Kishkinda. And he is the son of Dasharath Maharaj, who is very powerful. And I've also heard he's not different from Vishnu. So Sugriv may have the backing of Vishnu. You don't want to challenge. If he's coming and challenging you again, which means he has some Shakti which you're not able to see." Wife is telling the husband, "My dear Vali, I warn you, don't go and fight him this time. He has Sri Ram by his side and that's why he's so confident." Vali says, "Even if he has Sri Ram by his side, I have not done anything wrong to Sri Ram. I don't have any enmity with Sri Ram. So why will Sri Ram do anything to me?" Vali still decides to go. Even though he was warned, he still decides to go. And now when he comes out, Sri Ram is waiting for him behind the tree. Very royally, very charismatic, very dynamic. Sri Ram is waiting behind the tree. And the moment Vali comes out and Vali and Sugriv start fighting, Sri Ram picks up his arrow, chants his mantra. He shoots. And the arrow goes inside out of Vali. And that Vali who was so powerful, who could pick up Dundubi and just whirl him around with one arrow of Dasharath Maharaj inside out, he was down to the ground. He was down to the ground and Sri Ram now came from behind the tree. He looked at Sri Ram and said, "My dear Sri Ram, what wrong did I do to you? My enmity is there with my brother and we are fighting. Why did you come in between? What wrong did I do to you? And why are you shooting arrow behind a tree? You're a Kshatriya. It doesn't look good for a Kshatriya to shoot arrows behind a tree. What is the reason? Why are you shooting arrows behind a tree?" Sri Ram said, "Well, you kidnapped the wife of your younger brother, Sugriv. So because the whole area comes under Ikshvaku. In Ikshvaku's dynasty is Maharaj Dasharath. So being Dasharath Maharaj's son, I am the prince, and you being the citizen, you have not followed the dharma for a citizen. And I being the future king, I have full adhikar to punish you." So Vali says, "Acha, but these rules of not kidnapping one's of brother's wife or whatever, these rules are applicable for human beings. I am a monkey." He put his trump card. He said, "My dear Lord, for monkeys, these things are not applicable. For human beings, these things are applicable, but I am a monkey. So why are you still shooting me behind a tree?" Sri Ram said, Acha, if you call yourself a citizen and you kidnap the wife of your younger brother, then I, being the future king, I have full adhikar to give you punishment and chastise you. But if you say you are a monkey, then let me tell you, I am that hunter. And hunter always shoots behind a tree. Hunter always shoots behind a tree. So either which ways, Vali, you had to die. So when Vali heard this, he was convinced. And Vali had a locket which was given to him by Indra. And the locket was such, Indra had blessed it such that till the time he has that locket, he cannot die. He cannot die. So now the arrow had gone inside out, but because of the locket, he was still alive. But when he saw the moonlight face of Maryada Purushottam Ramchandra, just like Bhishma Dev in the departure bed sees the face of Sri Krishna and is completely satisfied, Triptosmi. Likewise, Vali in the departure bed sees the beautiful form of Sri Ram, beautiful form of Sri Lakshman, and he removes the necklace and he could have given it to his son Angad, but he removes that necklace and gives it to his brother Sugriv and says, my dear Sugriv, I now realize I did very bad with you. I kicked you out from the kingdom. I took your wife away. Now that Sri Ram has told me, now I realize whatever I did was very wrong. Let this be my prayaschitta, my dear Sugriv. I am giving this to you. Please take it. He gave it to Sugriv. And at that time, one Vanara, one monkey by the name Neel, he came and he removed the arrow from the chest of Vali. And when he removed the arrow from the chest of Vali, the arrow read, Dasharath Nandan Sri Ram. Sri Ram had a customized arrow. Dasharath Nandan Sri Ram. And when Vali saw that arrow, he left this world. So beautifully Valmiki Ramayana describes this Kishkinda. Of course, whatever we discussed was just one small portion. After this also many more incidents happen. But in the interest of time, I very humbly want to stop here. Maryada Purushottam Ramachandra Bhagavan ki, Shri Kishkinda Kand ki, Shri Sugriva ki, Vali's transformation ki, Srila Prabhupada who gave all this to all of us ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.